I'm still having a bit of withdrawal symptoms, but not no extreme cravings or anything that resembled the first day or two. I think it's going well. I think tonight's Friday. I always say if I can get through the Friday, then I can get through anything. So, with this, with the quitting, I think getting through tonight will be critical in this whole process. But yeah, so far so good. And as I've said before, I think it is a matter of deciding that you have quit and closing that gate behind you. The moment you've done that, I think the whole process becomes a lot easier, because you don't feel so sorry for yourself, or you don't feel like you're missing anything, or yeah, you don't feel like you're missing anything. I think that's where the whole problem comes in, is when you start getting the craving and you feel like you're missing out on something and you start feeling sorry for yourself. That's when your mind starts playing tricks on you, and that's when you're going to reach for the cigarette. But in any case, yeah, 4 days and just over 12 hours, so that's just over four and a half days so far, and keeping strong, and we're going to follow through. Cheers. Good evening, everyone. Emerald Oil. Tonight I am discussing my observations about quitting smoking. It's now right now, day 7. Tonight, or this morning, I'm discussing my general observations on quitting smoking. My first observation is try more than once. The first time you stop, you will probably start again, and it gives you a lot of input on what made you start again. It will tell you a lot about yourself, and it will give you ideas of what made you not quit. Failing and getting up again makes you stronger, and it gives you additional motivation for that second time. Having said that, I think if you just decide to quit every time without proper resolve or proper decision making, you're wasting your time. When you decide to stop smoking, even if you do fail initially, it's not a matter of saying, oh, I could just fail every time. It's a matter of really increasing that will and that drive to actually quit smoking. Also, when you fail the first time, it makes you realize that you are still a loser. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a loser. I want to be a winner. So my decision has been to take the fact that I'm a loser and turn that into becoming a winner. So, having said that, when you realize you're a loser, you need to get to a decision to beat the loser. And when you get to the decision to beat the loser, that is when you actually really can stop smoking. The second thing that I realized in the last 7 days is that you don't want to stop smoking and then avoid everything that you associated with smoking, because that is going to make your life an absolute misery. I'll give you an example. You stop smoking and you are used to having cups of coffee, but now your association with smoking is so strongly connected with the coffee that you also decide to not drink coffee. Now you are really screwing yourself, because not only are you denying yourself caffeine, nicotine, you're also denying yourself caffeine. So that's just going to make it worse for yourself. You have to keep on drinking your coffee. You're going to have your little fix from your caffeine, but also while you're having that coffee and you get the craving for that cigarette, you're going to realize that you've stopped smoking, and you're going to start breaking the connection between having coffee and smoking. Similarly with beer and wine, breakfast, meals, anything anything that you associate with smoking. Don't stop doing that. Do those things. Still have your wine, still have your beer. You can see I have my wine here right with me. It's now day 7. I've had my wine every day for the last 7 days, but I have said to myself I can have my wine without having a cigarette. And by now, when I have a glass of wine, I'm not associating having the glass of wine with having a cigarette. So that habit has been broken. Similarly with my coffee, I'll have 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and 1 to 2 at night. 10 o'clock at night is my cup of coffee time. And I've been having that cup of coffee at the normal times religiously, without having the cigarette. And by now, when I'm having my coffee, I'm not associating having that coffee with having a cigarette. So that habit is broken. So my point here is, yes, initially it's tough, but have the things that make you associate with having a cigarette or with smoking, but deny yourself the smoking and break the habit of having whatever you're having with having the cigarette. Initially it's tough, tough love, but once you've done that, you're now a much stronger person, because you've broken the ties. You've broken the thing that tied you up with having that cigarette, with that thing, to just having that thing without the cigarette. And habit is broken. So first couple of days, that is the toughest thing you can do, but do it. My first couple of days, I had my packet of cigarettes right next to me, open. I had a lighter right next to me. I had an ashtray right next to me. I was having wine. I was having my coffee in the mornings. I was having my coffee at night. But I did not light the cigarette. So I forced myself to have everything right next to me, because my view on life is, if you truly want to give up, make it as difficult for yourself as possible. I've been smoking for years now, years. I mean, this last stint has been lasted over 12 years. 30 to 40 cigarettes a day. I was a slave. I was a slave to cigarettes. But by making it tough for myself, making it difficult for myself, I have quit. And because I've done it this way, I know I have the strength not to light that cigarette again, because the desire to stop smoking is not it's not a decision of will. It's a decision of intelligence, and a decision that I said, after failing the last time, I'm not going to try and do this with willpower. I'm going to do this by first convincing myself that the reasons why I want to smoke are ridiculous, and the reasons why I want to stop smoking make sense. And I think that is the way that you conquer this habit. Because if you purely rely on willpower, you're not going to do it. The first time I thought this is willpower. It's not willpower. It's about, let's say, programming yourself mentally to actually truly believe that you've quit and to have the right motivation for that. Now, you're going to have plenty of times where you feel like having a cigarette, and I've actually had that yesterday afternoon, and that was day 6 into my quitting smoking. We were sitting outside. We had some friends over, and my wife was sitting outside smoking. We had some nice craft beers. We were chatting and just having a general good time and some relaxing weekend time. And I found myself time and again craving that cigarette, especially after a couple of beers. You know, the more alcohol you have, the more you feel like I want a cigarette and I want it now. But I didn't make that the be all and end all. I um, pointed out that a cigarette would be nice now, but I just moved on. I moved swiftly along, and I think that's what one should do. You know, you can have a thought about a cigarette. Um, you can have that craving, but you should swiftly move along and say that's no longer part of what I do. That's no longer part of my habits. That is no longer part of my association. I have quit smoking, and therefore I can have the thought, but I'm not going to give into it, and I'm not going to light a cigarette. That's in the past, and you just move along from that thought, and the thought will crucify you and follow you along for a while. But after 10 minutes or so, because you're not entertaining it, it will leave you alone, and you can move on with other thoughts, and you will no longer be thinking of smoking. One of your other friends is acidity. Uh, buy yourself some fruit, yogurt. I enjoy some pineapple, maybe mango, bit of watermelon, um, tangerine, or my favorite is nectarines. It's like a cross between an orange and a nachi. Um, and make yourself some fruit salad, mix it with yogurt, and have that, because the acidity discourages you from wanting to light the cigarette and vice versa. So to me that worked. And also, I eat nuts not to go nuts. I buy myself some mixed nuts, Brazil, roasted almond, pecan nuts, macadamia, some Brazil nuts in there. But I just snack on nuts throughout the day, just to keep my hands busy. Today we also made some rusks. Now that's keep yourself industrious. Do some things that you don't normally want to do. My wife and I, Heidi, made some rusks earlier today. So, mixing the ingredients and whatever. That's a full couple of hours that you will not be thinking of smoking because you're busy with something else. Not that I needed that today. My thoughts have been quite far from smoking and wanting to smoke in general, but those kind of things help. Then I've mentioned in a couple of my previous videos, there's the hunger. I always call it the hunger, because I think if you're a smoker, you start struggling to differentiate between real hunger and hunger for nicotine. When you stop smoking, the way you will realize that is you feel like something. It's not fruit, it's not muesli, it's not other snacks, it's not milk, but you are hungry for something. At first, when you just stop smoking, it's easy to replace that hunger with actual hunger for food, and you might eat some snacks and this and that and the other. Couple of days into your quitting, you're gonna have the hunger, but you're not gonna want to have the snacks. You're not gonna want to have the muesli. You're not gonna want to have the sweets. You're not gonna want to have anything that you were confusing your hunger for nicotine with before. And then you're gonna. I think that's when you're gaining weight and what have you. When you're stopping smoking, will pretty much stop, because at that stage you realize it's not the hunger for food, it's not the hunger for your snacks or this or that the other. It's actually the hunger for having a cigarette. But at that stage, it's a lot easier already, because all of the nicotine is out of your body already, and you're at a stage where, yes, you'll snack a bit on this and that and the other, just to just to get rid of the hunger. But most of that overindulging behavior, because you've quit smoking, you start realizing this hunger is the hunger for nicotine and cigarettes, and I've stopped smoking, so I don't have to give in to it. And I think that's that said and done. So ride out the wave. When you get the hunger, when you get that feeling, just put it out of your mind, move along. Do not sit and entertain the idea of having a cigarette. Just put it out of your mind and move along. 5 minutes later, it will be gone. After 3 days of quitting smoking, it's not really easier. You might think because now the nicotine has worked out of your system, that after 3 days things get easier. In fact, in a lot of ways, it might get more difficult. As I've explained, at day 6, I was really craving cigarettes after having a couple of beers, and it was on a Saturday, relaxing time, and it's just one of those. It's a time where you want to relax, and you associate relaxing with having that cigarette, and just made it, to me, really difficult. Day 6, I would say, was pretty bad for me, as far as numerous times or numerous occasions where I just felt like a cigarette would be nice right now. Yes, it was less intense, as far as I could resist it a lot easier, but I had many more instances where I was feeling like I wanted to have a cigarette now. The other thing I can say is, don't be fooled and don't get cocky, don't get arrogant. When you feel like you've conquered this bad habit, the weakness will strike. And I think you need to be aware of that, so that you can be prepared to say no. So when the weakness strikes, you must be able to stay strong and to say no to this bad habit. In any case, enough on my current observations. I'll post some more in a day or two as I become aware of more more of these things that trigger wanting to smoke, or things that make it easier not to smoke. But I'll give you some more updates. Have a fantastic day, fantastic night, and I will see you soon. Cheers.